All right, today we're going to talk about is choosing the best measure of center and the effects on the measure. So quick review, mean is the average of all data values and it's drastically affected by any addition or deletion of extreme numbers to the data. So this is the best choice if the distribution is roughly symmetric. The median, we also talked about as a measure of center, is the middle data set. That's least affected by any extreme numbers, and it's not affected by any outliers. So this is the best choice if there's an outlier or if the distribution is skewed. So some examples here. So here, if you look, it's pretty even on both sides of and the mean and the median are pretty much in the middle. So this is roughly symmetric. So in this case, I would definitely use the mean, because this is where most of the information is anyways for the center. So that would be the best choice. Now, if you look at this graph, the long tail is going to, since it skews right, the mean is here, but the long tail, since we do have some extreme values here, is going to pull that over that way. But most of your information is here, so in this case, the median would be the best choice because that's closer to the center of all the values. And similar over here, it is skewed left, so your tail's going left, and most of the information is here, which is closer to the median because the mean was pulled that way due to some extreme values. So since this is skewed left, I would use the median also. So now let's look at this table. We want to find the measure of center for the data below and describe the best one. So we've got our animals, we've got lifespan. So we've got all of our animals here. Well, I want you to look at this one. This 200 is very different because these are 30s, 50, 30, 70, 20. So these are all pretty small values. And then 20 is definitely the outlier. That one stands out. So first let's find the average. What we're going to do is we're going to add all those together. I got 435 and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I did 435 divided by 7, which is 62.14. And then that is with the outlier. So now let's look at the median. So remember, you're going to put it in order from the least to greatest. And now that when we did that, we're going to figure out which one is in the center. And in that case, 35 is in the center, so that's in the middle, the median. So that is your median for your total. And remember, you can always put this in Desmos too. So now we're going to take out the outlier. So we're going to go 435 minus 200, and that's going to give us 235. And then since we took this out, we now have 6 things to find animals to deal with. So 235 divided by 6 is going to be 39.17 or 39 and 1700ths. And then for the median, this one shouldn't change too much, but we do need to make sure it's ordered. But we did take out the 200 in this case. So we've got 30 and 35s in the middle, so we have to take the average of that, which would be 32.5. So in this case, again, notice the median is not affected as much as the mean. So the mean is largely affected by this outlier, but the median is pretty close. So we're going to go with the median. You can also work backwards. You're going to multiply the mean or the average by the numbered data values and then subtract to find the missing value. So if you've taken 3 tests, you've got 75, 89, 92. We want to figure out what do you need on the 4th test so your mean or your average is 86. So we're taking our 3 values that we do know. This is the one we don't know. This is your 4th test, is X. That's what we don't know. So in order to find what we need, we have to divide this by 4 to get 86%. So remember, in order to get rid of this 4, what we have to do is we have to multiply both sides by 4. That's going to cancel out your denominator, and you're left with 256 plus x equals 344. And then remember, we need to move this over to get x by itself. So you should have x equals 88. So I want you to go ahead, I want you to try this, the 7 games, these are the scores. but we want to know if you have the 8th game to get that score. So you're going to take those plus x, divide it all by 8 to equal 215. If you do it correctly, you should get 286. And remember to show your work. All right, so here's some more examples. In 9 and x have the same mean as the mean of those three. So we want to know what's the value of x. So what we're going to do is we're going to first find the mean here. And so we've got 9 plus x divided by 2. And then we want to know if we were to have that, this would be 9 plus 8 plus 21. So divided by that, so that's 15. So that's why we plugged this into here. And so when we're doing that, x will have to be 21 in order to get that. So all we did was take this, divided by 3, got 15, plug that into here since we didn't know what it was. Or you could have taken this and just plugged it into here anyways, but you'd have a lot of fractions. So this is probably the easier way to do it. All right, and then for number 2, 3 numbers can be represented. Find the mean in terms of x. So we've got our 3 numbers, and since it's 3 numbers, that's why we're dividing by 3. So we're going to combine like terms. So we can write it like this, or you can, since the 3 goes with both terms, you could break it up this way and make this 4. So I prefer to break it up that way because that way I can simplify. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and then it's x. All right, so I want you to go ahead. I want you to try examples 3 and examples 4. For number 3, you have 4 numbers, so this is going to be very similar to the one we just did. Find the mean in terms of x. So I would definitely look at this example. And if you do it correctly, show your work. You're going to get 10x minus 5 over 4. Or I will accept if you have, since both of them, 10x minus 5, or 10x over 4 minus 5 over 4, and you could actually simplify the 10x. So there's different solutions, or simplified solutions for that one. Here you have 3 numbers represented by those 3. And they have a mean of 60, so it's going to equal 60. So 5x, so you're actually solving. That's going to equal 60, and remember you're dividing it by 3. All right, so if you do it correctly, show your work, you should have 12. All right, so just remember to choose the best measure of center, look at the mean and the median, and whichever one is not affected by the outlier is usually going to be the best choice. Typically mean if it's symmetric, and then otherwise it would be medium if it's skewed. And that is choosing the best measure of center.